If you're over 40 and you've ever stood in front of a wall of supplements wondering which ones are actually worth your money, there's a good chance you've walked away more confused than when you started. Because the supplement industry is a multi billion-dollar machine, and most of it is built on marketing, not actual evidence. But there are a handful of supplements where the science is genuinely strong. And in this video, I'm going to walk you through the five that actually move the needle after 40, what they do, why they matter at this stage of life, and the doses and forms that actually work. Now, technically, this first one is a food and not a supplement, but for anyone over 40, a quality protein powder may be the single most impactful thing you can add to your routine for body composition, longevity, and metabolism. And here's why. After about age 40, something called anabolic resistance kicks in. Your body becomes less responsive to protein. So the same amount of protein that maintained your muscle at age 30 is no longer enough at age 45 or 50. And this is a big one because muscle isn't just about how you look. Muscle is your metabolic engine. It's where your body stores and uses glucose. And when you lose muscle, your metabolism slows down, your insulin sensitivity drops, and fat loss becomes harder. So think of muscle like a storage site for glucose. When you have more muscle and when that muscle is being used regularly, your body has somewhere productive to put that energy. When you lose it, that same energy gets stored as fat. The frustrating part is that many people over 40 are under eating protein without even realizing it. And I see this with my clients all the time. They're eating what feels like a normal amount, but it's nowhere near enough to overcome that anabolic resistance. So, what's the target? For healthy adults over 40, you want about 2 grams of protein per kilogram of body weight per day. And if you're actively trying to lose fat while preserving muscle, which is what most people I work with are trying to do, you want even more. That's a lot of protein from food alone. So, a quality protein powder, whey, or a good plant based blend simply makes hitting those targets easier. We don't want to rely on it, but use it as a top up when necessary. And trust me on this one, all the five things we're covering today, this is the one that makes the most visible difference in body composition. The second supplement is creatine monohydrate. And if you think of creatine as something for bodybuilders or gym bros in their 20s, you're missing what is arguably one of the best studied supplements for healthy aging. So after 40, we naturally lose muscle mass, which we've just talked about, strength and power as well, which is called sarcopenia. That's when we're losing muscle. And it starts earlier than most people realize. And creatine directly helps preserve that lean muscle. Hundreds of randomized controlled trials have supported this, so it's really safe and it's really well studied. But here's where it gets interesting for our age group. So there's growing evidence that creatine also supports brain health. It plays a role in energy production in the brain, and so some studies show improvements in cognitive performance and reduced mental fatigue, especially during periods of stress or sleep deprivation. And many of my clients are high achieving professionals who are short on sleep and under constant cognitive load. So creatine is helping them in two ways. It's preserving muscle and supporting their brain. And the dose is simple. You just want 5 grams a day, wherever that's going to work for you. It doesn't really matter where in the day you take it, as long as you take it consistently. And the form is non-negotiable. We want creatine monohydrate and ideally Creapure. The third supplement is omega-3 fish oil. So this is also one of the best studied supplements for cardiovascular health. And given that heart disease remains the leading cause of death, this alone is going to put it on this list. But after 40, omega-3s do more than just support your heart. Chronic low-grade inflammation becomes a bigger issue as we get older. It's something called inflammaging. Omega-3s help reduce the inflammatory signal. They also support brain function, and some evidence suggests they may help preserve muscle mass as well. There's even emerging research showing that omega-3s, when combined with exercise and adequate vitamin D, may slow biological aging markers. So we're not just talking about feeling better today, we're talking about compressing the decline that typically comes with aging. Now, the dose for this is 1 to 2 grams per day of combined EPA and DHA. And here's what to look for on the label. So don't just look at the total fish oil amount. We want to look specifically for the EPA and DHA content. A lot of cheap products will show you a number of total fish oil, but when you break it down, the actual EPA and DHA is low. We also want to make sure we're looking into a high quality purified product. And if you do want some recommendations, please just put it in the comments and I'll let you know the ones that I use and the ones I personally recommend to my clients, because out of all the supplements on this list, this is the one I would say that you want to get the best quality. Now, supplement number 4 is magnesium. And this is one where many adults are simply not getting enough from their diet because modern food processing strips out a lot of the magnesium. And unless you're eating a ton of leafy greens, nuts, seeds, things like that, you're probably not getting enough. And why does this matter after 40? Well, magnesium is involved in over 300 enzyme reactions in your body, But the big ones for anyone over 40 are sleep quality, muscle recovery, nervous system function, and blood pressure regulation. And this is where we can really run into some issues because poor sleep and high stress are two of the biggest barriers to fat loss that I see. When you're not sleeping well, cortisol is going to stay elevated, your cravings are going to increase, and your body holds on to fat. Magnesium is able to directly support the relaxation pathways that help you wind down and get quality sleep. So the dose for this one is 200 to 400 milligrams per day. The best form is magnesium glycinate, but if you're more interested in the brain benefits, I'd go for magnesium threonate. Again, here we do really want to be looking at the form you're taking because there are different forms out there that are cheaper and not as effective. And as I always tell my clients, take magnesium in the evening because it supports that parasympathetic rest and digest state that we want to get into before bed. Now, the final supplement is vitamin D, and I'm putting this at number 5 deliberately, and not because it's not important, but because the approach here is a little bit different from the others. So, with protein, creatine, omega 3s, and magnesium, the evidence supports taking them regardless of whether you have a diagnosed deficiency. But with vitamin D, the strongest evidence is for correcting a deficiency, not for mega dosing if your levels are already all right. That said, deficiency is genuinely common, especially if you work indoors, live at higher latitudes, or have darker skin. Vitamin D is going to support bone health, immune function, and muscle function as well. There's decent evidence that correcting a deficiency can reduce falls and support healthy aging too. So it's a pretty powerful vitamin to be looking into. But here is the key point. So we don't want to be guessing. We want to measure your blood levels first. And if you're low, like many people are, then supplementing with 1,000 to 2,000 IU per day makes sense. If your levels are normal, you probably don't need to add more. So vitamin D is on this list because deficiency is widespread and the consequences of that deficiency are real. But the approach should be to test first and supplement second. So those are the 5. A quality protein powder to overcome anabolic resistance and preserve muscle, creatine monohydrate for strength, muscle, and brain health, omega 3 fish oil for your heart, brain, and inflammation, magnesium for sleep and recovery, and vitamin D, but only if your levels are low. And here's the thing I want you to take away from this. Most people are trying to solve the wrong problems with supplements. They're looking for a pill that's going to undo a poor diet, chronic stress, and no sleep. And that's unfortunately not how any of this works. Your body doesn't know that you're trying to optimize your health. It simply responds to the signals it's receiving. And the most powerful signals are still the fundamentals: what you eat, how you move, how you sleep, and how you manage stress. Supplements are exactly what this name suggests. They supplement a solid foundation, they don't replace it. If you found this video helpful, subscribe to the channel and like this video. I'd really appreciate it. And if you have any questions about any of these supplements, just put them in the comments and I'll make sure to get them answered.